Good morning, and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where I'm a little bit live, and so is Walter. So here we are this morning. Walter, so glad you're here. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the Spirit and to serve the community. I am Reverend Lane-Mairead Campbell, and I serve this congregation as your settled minister. I use they, them pronouns. Joining me in leading worship this morning is Greg Baum, who's our worship associate, using he, him pronouns. We have Bridget Watts with us, using she, her pronouns from our sabbatical task force, with a very exciting announcement this morning. Joining us for music today is Gordon Porth. Welcome back, Gordon, using he, him pronouns. Glad you're here this morning. Thank you so much. And we have Jack Cunningham joining us for tech support using he, him pronouns. We have Lisa Gwinner as well as Karen Labraco joining us for our online ministry team. Our Minister of Lifespan Faith Development is Reverend Michelle Yates, using she, her pronouns, with our fantastic Walter. It is so good to be here together. If you are here for the first or second or third time, we are especially glad that you are here this morning. Thank you so much for making your way to this worshiping community. We have a visitors forum that can be found by scanning the QR code in your pews or in your order of service, or else if you're joining us online by clicking the link in the chat. Please fill out one of these visitors forms so we can offer you a welcome beyond just what we can offer you here. And we really want to invite you next month, in the month of May, to come join us for Getting Connected. We have a new series, a 3-part series for 3 Thursdays in May, for folks who are new to just come and learn a little bit more about this congregation and also learn about ways to get connected here. So please keep an eye out for an announcement about that in the near future and join us for that. This morning, we have a special announcement from Bridget Watts, chair of our sabbatical task force. So Bridget, come on forward and come join us.
Good morning, everybody. So, as we all know, Reverend Lane-Mairead is going on sabbatical for 5 months, starting this summer. Well deserved. And the sabbatical task force has been meeting since September to plan for this event. We've actually been planning for longer than the event will be so far, and there's more to go. But I'm pleased to share with you now, on behalf of the task force and the Board of Trustees, our plan to provide ministerial coverage during Reverend Lane-Mairead's absence. First, we are going to welcome Peter House to serve as our summer minister, as he has in the past. And Peter will be with us from June 25th through the end of August. And then for September through November, we have engaged the Reverend Margaret Weiss to serve as our half-time sabbatical minister. Reverend Margaret is currently attending graduate school in Ithaca. She has served as the settled minister of the Ithaca Unitarian Church and also as a developmental minister in the past. We met with Reverend Margaret last month, and we're really looking forward to having her with us this fall. And for those of you who are just itching to Google her, and I know you're out there, her last name is spelled W-E-I-S as in Sam, 1 S. Yes, so she has spoken from our pulpit in the past. And we feel very fortunate to have found a qualified minister, highly recommended by Reverend Lane-Mairead, with experience in parish ministry, and who is nearby, and who is available and willing to take on a 3-month commitment. So, one more thing to be aware of, there will be a sabbatical leadership gathering on the morning of Saturday, May 13th. We don't have the exact times yet, but there will be more details soon. This will be a time for all of us to get down to the nitty-gritty of planning to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks while our minister is away. Everyone is welcome, and that is Saturday, the morning of May 13th. So please come and bring your ideas and questions about how the sabbatical might affect your committee or the area of church life that you're involved in. Thank you.
Yeah. Woo! This is such a relief and such a joy this morning. Thank you so much, Bridget, and thanks to the other members of the Sabbatical Task Force. I see Ann Rohde here this morning. I see Krista Gollier here this morning. Anybody else from our Sabbatical Task Force that's here joining us in person this morning? Maybe we have a few folks online. Thank you so much for your work on this. Before we take a moment here at First Universalist and online to turn to our neighbors, let's take a moment to connect our two communities. So if you're here in the building at First Universalist, if you turn towards that back camera back there and offer a wave to our online worshiping community, we are so glad you are here this morning with us, joining us in worship. It is good to be together, both online and in person. So if you're online, please pop into the chat and offer a greeting this morning. Let us know you are here. And if you're here at First Universalist, please take a moment and turn to your neighbor and offer a greeting this morning. Dear ones, our opening hymn is hymn number 1013, Open My Heart. 1013, right? Did I get that right? Yes. Hymn number 1013, Open My Heart. It is a short one, very kind of brief. It just has this one line. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. So we are going to sing these lines twice through in unison. And then we're going to do it in the round. So we'll start with this side and then go over to this side to join in second. So let us join hearts and voices in singing this hymn twice through and then twice in a round. Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. Can you remember the first time you wanted something? Likely not, as we begin life wanting and needing things, before we are even aware of our desires. Can you remember the last time you desired something? Did you get it? Come into this worship service where we explore the sacredness of desire. Come into this community where desires are valued rather than pushed down or pathologized. Come into yourself, your desires, your wants, your hopes, your wishes, and your dreams. Come, let us worship together. As Tom Williams lights the chalice, at First Universalist Church, and you light your chalices at home, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? People are welcome here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life.
Thus do we covenant
with each other and with all. We give this morning to the good works of First Universalist Church, rooted in Rochester's downtown and committed to call to nurture the spirit and serve the community. Your contributions this morning allow us to continue to do the work of justice, spirit, care, and inclusion. You are invited to give online by scanning the QR code in your pews or fashioned by clicking the link in the chat. You can also give the old-fashioned way by dropping an offering into the offering basket. Thank you for your generosity.
What a beautiful sung reminder that a promise lives within each of us now. And this morning, Reverend Michelle Yates chose a story for us that really illuminates this point. Luckily for us, here in this space, we found somebody else to tell it this morning. Our story is called Nigel and the Moon, and it is by a man named Antoine Eady, and it's illustrated by Gracie Zhang. One of the incredible things about being in this time period is we can share with you a moment of Antoine Eady reading his own book, because we have the capabilities to do that now. And so we thought, instead of one of us telling it, why not let the author tell the story this morning? So please enjoy Nigel and the Moon.
Hi, my name is Antoine Eady, and today for Storytime with Barnes & Noble, I'll be reading my new book, Nigel and the Moon, written by me, illustrated by Gracie Zhang. Shall we begin? At night he tells the moon his dreams, and here his dreams are safe. Hi, my name's Nigel, and I'm an astronaut, a dancer, a superhero too. Among the stars he twirls, quietly soaring in the still of the night. With pride his chest swells, and his eyes, they glow. His smile, it shines. Now, the moon isn't the brightest body in the sky. Nigel is, and so are his dreams. But even with dreams so bright, he isn't ready for the world to see. The first day of Career Week has arrived, and Nigel's school takes a trip to the library. Book after book, page after page, his classmates choose their favorite jobs. Nigel flips, and he flips, and he flips again, but a dancer like him cannot be found. On the second day, his class shadows their parents at work. House after house, block after block, Nigel follows his mom. With feet planted on the ground, Nigel looks to the sky, and the distance from here to there grows larger still. Back in his bed, he searches for the moon. In the dark hue of the night, he finds it once more, and there, between the moon and him, his dreams are waiting. Tomorrow, I'll tell the world, he says, yet he quivers at the thought. On the third day, the teacher asks, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" "A doctor, an engineer like my dad, a veterinarian." Nigel shrinks in his chair. I don't know." He can't bring himself to whisper the word, superhero. But later that night, he tells the moon his hopes, and out the window they glide, far, far away, where no one can pull them down. "One day, I'll land on the moon, dance ballet, and wear my cape with honor." But Nigel also worries, and he shares that with the moon. What if I wish to be too many things, he wonders. When the sun rises, he packs his dreams away again. On the fourth day, his teacher asks, "What are your parents' careers?" "My mom's a surgeon. My dad's a weatherman. My mother's the president of a big candy company." Now, all eyes are on Nigel. "My parents." He pauses, then asks to be excused. That night, he tells the moon his truth. "I'm scared. My parents don't have fancy jobs. Will my class laugh if I tell them?" It's easy to tell the moon his truth. It's easy to tell the moon his dreams. But Nigel's not ready to tell the world. The next morning, Nigel slowly makes his way down the stairs. "Dream big, son," Dad says, "and be proud of who you are," says Mom. The final day of Career Week is here, and some special guests have arrived. An author, a chef, and an architect too. But that's not all, the teacher says. Come in, Mr. and Mrs. Strong. Nigel slides down in his chair, but a shy smile grows across his face. His mom introduces herself first. I'm a postal carrier, and I help connect people around the world. Love letters, birthday cards, postcards, and more. I deliver them all. His dad follows. I'm a truck driver. Most days it feels like I'm driving a monster truck. Vroom! The class erupts in laughter. Looking around the room, Nigel can tell it's the good kind. Above all, his dad adds, pointing at his son, raising Nigel's been the best job we've ever had. With pride, Nigel's chest swells. His eyes, they glow. His smile, it shines. At night, he tells the moon his dreams, but today, he takes a stand. I'd like to say something. Nigel joins his parents in front of the class. I want to be an astronaut on the moon or a dancer on the stage, and when the world needs a superhero, I can be that too. At night, he tells the moon his dreams, but telling the world isn't so scary after all. Thank you so much for joining me for Storytime today. I hope you enjoyed meeting Nigel as much as Gracie and I enjoyed creating him. Thank you so much.
What a delight that we get to hear this story read by the author this morning. And for me, it's just the things that remain between Nigel and the moon. I just love it. I love it so much. If any of our kids would like to go up to our Sunday school activities, Reverend Michelle is here to take you on up. And for those of us who will remain here in the service, I'm just going to invite you to take a deep breath and get settled in wherever you are as we prepare our hearts and our minds to join in this sacred time of sharing in the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a heart-centered space. As we place stones into the bowl, as Greg places stones into the bowl, I will read aloud the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. All online are invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat, and I will certainly get to those as a part of this ritual. Oh, this morning we share a joy from Lois Baum. After 2.5 months, I got my groove back. COQ10 asked me about it. Yay! Welcome back, Lois. We have 2 joys this morning to share from Pat Stott. The first joy is that Keith Stott was transferred to a rehab facility on Wednesday where he will continue his recovery. And she extends thanks to our church family for the many cards and emails. The second joy from the Stott family is that Marianne Stott-Zelazny and her husband Ryan have moved into their forever home as of this past Thursday. So exciting. A joy from Kitty Forbush, who shares a joy to be in Providence with my 2 sons, my daughters, and my 3 grandchildren, celebrating 3 birthdays. Wow. Joy this morning from Lisa Gwinner. After 2.5 years of not being able to leave my home independently, we now have a beautiful wheelchair ramp. I am so grateful. We are so glad to hear that. We share a sorrow this morning from Dwight Montague, whose son's 18-year-old cat Floyd had to be put down yesterday. Oh. A great furball of love. We are remembering Floyd and holding the uncomplicated grief with our beloved pets. So easy to love. We have a joy this morning from Johanna Connolly, who shares a joy to have spent time with C.B. Beale yesterday at our gender inclusion workshop. We have another one coming up today from 1 to 4. And a joy this morning from Ezekiel McGee. I am starting a new job tomorrow at the University of California, Davis as a librarian. What a joy, Ezekiel, for your new job, and also a joy that you can still join us here on Sunday morning from Davis, California. What a delight. We'll drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and the sorrows left in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love this morning. In our time of prayer and meditation, I want to invite us into just a moment to practice resting here in this sacred hour, in this space together. So I want to invite you to come into your hearts, come into your bodies, come into your minds, and rest. Take a moment to just truly rest. Allow your body to relax. Notice and release any tension held in your shoulders, in your back, in your arms, in your hands. Allow your face to relax. The muscles around your mouth, the muscles around the brow and the eyes. Allow your mind to still. Let the voices quiet down. Let the future go. Let the thoughts about what others should be doing be released. And just breathe here. Let this be a moment of rest. Let us just breathe here. In our rest, we connect with the source of all life. In our rest and out of our rest, we can dream. So let us take this moment of silence together to just truly rest, to allow the silence to hold us. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Dear ones, a song, a hymn of contemplation this morning to be sung from our seats. Number 101, Abide with Me. I imagine that many of us in this room know the ache that our story refers to this morning. The ache of knowing that you desire something, a dream, a future, a hope, something so important we dare not speak its name. Or perhaps we just weren't ready to. I imagine that you too have held dreams quietly, silently in your heart, recognizing all of the barriers to get there, the realities that make such a dream seem impossible. And I hope that you found pathways to share such desires. I hope that someone made a way for you to share your dream. I hope that you had the moon to talk to, or a place in nature to go to, or even the divine there with you, so you had some loving presence to share it with. I know that likely there are dreams in this room that will continue to remain silent. I know that likely there are desires we only keep to ourselves, because to say them aloud might be disappointing, or might open us up to ridicule, or might even take us one move closer to realizing such dreams. And all of these scenarios are scary. Dear ones, your desires, your hopes, your dreams for what could come are sacred. They are important. They matter here. This Sunday marks the beginning of our church-wide exploration of our seasonal theme, Unfurling Desire. As the world wakes up, as our city begins to bloom, and the sun comes for occasional visits, wish it would come a little longer today, but here we are, our desires too can awaken and open up and even begin to bloom. For today, I am interested in how we cultivate desire. Where are our wishes born? How do we cultivate this act of dreaming and wanting for things? To want and desire things is a part of our very humanity. From the time we are born into these vessels, these bodies that have so many needs. Needs for food, for care, for shelter, for protection. To make our needs known, we begin with crying, obviously. Eventually training our parents to read our facial expressions and the noise we make until we finally graduate to using our words. I can hear so many of the parents in my life saying it. Use your words. Desire, or the wanting and wishing for something, is an essential instinct for survival. Desire is what keeps us alive. But then, along the way, something happens. Along the way, we learn about desires that can be met and desires that cannot. We learn about the limitations of what we can have based on safety and access and cultural cues and a whole host of factors. We learn about the good desires to voice, the need for food, perhaps the desire to get outside, the desire for mutual growth amongst friends and community, while at the same time learning about desires that might be more taboo in nature. Desires that we learn to keep secret and not to speak. Desires back in the recesses of our minds that we may have to cause harm. Desires that go against what we have been taught is right and good. Desires for excess to the point of harming ourselves and others. Desires that might be different than those around you. I want to say here that desires like these live in the shadows of so many of our hearts and minds. Not all of them deserve to be kept in the shadows. Some are guiding posts for what we desire that might be taboo, yet actually very fulfilling. What happens when we hold on to them in shame is they can become secrets that manifest in sideways expressions in ways that can be harmful to others. Let us tell the truth about desire today. Not all desires are meant to be acted upon, especially when they are harmful to other people and even to ourselves. In my life, I find the most healing thing is to have a friend or a therapist or someone to talk these desires through with. They have to get outside sometimes. The hope there is that they do not become shameful secrets that we carry with us and that fester in our hearts. The shadow side of desire, withstanding our relationship to our own desire, is something worth exploring. The messages we received around desire shape our own relationship with our hopes and dreams. If we had desires that were met at an early age, we learned that our desires were meant to be met. If we were denied what we desired at an early age, we learned that our desires would likely go unmet. Broad strokes, all of us come from maybe more nuanced backgrounds than this. But this is especially dangerous when what we desired were the things that we needed to survive: food, shelter, clothing, love. All of us were born into families and cultures with different relationships to desire. I myself was raised in a family where we never made wish lists for presents. It just was not the culture. Every year, what you got was what you got. My parents, I believe, wanted to actively discourage asking for things, likely to help us divest from the rampant consumerism that surrounded us as children growing up in the 1980s, but also probably because they did not want us to be disappointed when we did not get what we wanted. As my life progressed, I married into a family of in-laws whose very practice was always to make a wish list for Christmas and birthdays every year. This is the way my in-laws made sure that their kids and their children's partners eventually got what they wanted for gifts, rather than the things they did not want. I found it so jarring and weird. It felt strange to ask for what I wanted. It felt a bit selfish. Neither of these options necessarily needs to have a judgment attached to them, but they do shape who we are. Just to see a little poll here in the space and maybe online, how many folks grew up making wish lists for presents that you wanted? Hey, show of hands. All right. Yep. Good number. How many folks did not? Yeah. All right. To have permission to ask for what we want, to make space for our desires is deeply important. To know that our desires exist alongside the desires of others and the practices of others helps us to put our personal wants and dreams into perspective. It helps us to know that our desires aren't the only ones out there. So many of us, too many of us, have been taught to keep our desires small. Keep them within the confines of what is possible, realistic, even what will make you money if you're thinking about sort of career desires and life trajectory desires. We have been taught to fit our desires within the confines of what is possible for people of our race, our class, our gender, our abilities, whatever. And it is true that we live in a world where these are limiting factors. However, I do not think any of us benefit from keeping our desires small and secret. Imagine if our story this morning ended differently. Imagine if Nigel's dreams just remained between himself and the moon. Too many kids and adults have this story. I have heard so many times about the desires amongst aging people to change or to learn a new thing or even to shift what you're doing entirely. The desire is there, with the wistful caveat that it is probably too late. When I hear this, I feel such grief for what could be possible. This world needs your dreams. This world needs your growth and your new self-realizations. This world needs people of all ages making their desires known and working towards their visions of a better world or a better life or even just a better future. So please, if you have a dream or a desire, allow it some space within you. Allow it some space to unfold, to unfurl, if you will. Make space for the wishes and the wants you have because this world needs them. Hold that with desire, we risk disappointment alongside the reality that we also risk realizing our dreams. Your dreams are worth realizing. I had a spiritual director who at one point invited me to get a journal and to list out my wants inside of it. This was a journal just for me. It wasn't something I was planning on taking anywhere else, but it was a very practical way to make space for what I wanted. It started out with lists of different things that I wanted, and then it kind of transformed into some images of things that I wanted. It could be desires for the day or desires for my life. And this practice of just writing them down was huge. It was a way to concretely look at what I was holding that I wanted or wished for. I'd encourage you to try it. Make space for your desires, for your dreams. And I feel like I would be remiss if I did not mention that we know that our individual desires are not the be-all, end-all of our lives, right? We also hold desires as a community, desires in our families, desires for our world and for our country, desires for this church community. Collective dreaming is so important. It is the catalyst for change as well as for justice. It is the way we continue to move forward. There is no future without the dreams and the wishes of the present. There is no future without the dreams and the wishes and the desires of the present. With other people, it gets complicated. Sometimes the outcome is not exactly what we as individuals had pictured. Sometimes it's hard working with common desires and different ways of going about realizing those dreams. Being in community can be hard. Being a human being with other human beings can be hard. But it's also where we find the hope. Margaret Mead reminds us in our own hymnal, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." To collectively dream about the world we can create brings people together. It helps us to live lives of meaning and purpose with clarity about our role in these larger dreams. Those desires formed in relationships lead us towards dreams with so much more oomph behind them. I was reminded in our gender inclusion workshop yesterday with C.B. Beale about how much more powerful we are when we are working together, thinking together, talking together. The dreams we share with one another have deep power. We are better dreaming together than we are alone. It is good to be here with you in the dreaming. It is good to be here with you to explore desire, at church no less. It is so important to talk about desire here, of all places, in a space that so often has had a very complicated relationship with desire. Maybe an understatement. Let us, as Unitarian Universalists, hold our desires as sacred. Let us find ways to make space for them despite the limitations and the realistic voices that encourage us to be small, to fit in a box. Let our desires soar, and let us see what is possible when we dream together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our closing hymn this morning is hymn number 108, "My Life Flows On in Endless Song." We'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit. This hymn can be found in your gray hymnals or also on the screen. Please join us in singing. I'll invite you to please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame with some words written here on the screen or in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Wherever you are this morning, I'll invite you to place a hand over your heart, to just get centered and grounded here in this space, in this heart-centered space. Take a moment to look around at who is here with you. If you're joining us online, turn your view to gallery view. If you're here in the space, just take a moment to look around at the faces of those who are here dreaming with you, birthing desires with you, holding wishes and wants for this world alongside you. Dear ones, as you go forth into this week, may you know that the desires of your hearts are sacred. May you have people to share them with, or the moon, or the divine, or somewhere that you go in nature. May you have space to know the inner workings of your own heart. And may you remember that whatever your relationship to desire, your desires are important. And may you know that out of knowing that you are loved. May you go and be that love to whomever you meet in the moments, days, and weeks ahead. Amen. Blessed be. May it be so.